Hi, and welcome to MentorCore. If you're new here, we're a community focused on helping people in the security, risk, and compliance fields grow their careers and leadership skills through mentoring. You can find more information about MentorCore at mentorcore.biz. I'm Dan Ayala, along with Lisa Beth Lentini Walker. Now, on to this week's discussion.
Welcome to another MentorCore event. My name is Lisa Beth Lentini Walker, and we are excited, no, I should actually say thrilled, to have Samantha Simms with us today. Samantha is one of the smartest people I know when it comes to data protection and data governance. And she and I actually had the opportunity to work together in our careers at one point in time. Now we just happen to be very good friends, and I respect her so much. She runs the Information Collective, which has operations in lots of different places, but we'll get into that a little bit later. For now, Samantha, I don't want to steal your thunder here. Why don't you tell us just a few minutes about who you are and what you're doing right now?
Thank you, Lisa Beth, and thank you very much, Dan. It's great to join you both on this podcast. I just think MentorCore is just an amazing setup because it just allows people to connect with a bit more of their soft skill. So myself, I'm a data privacy attorney, strategist, and the CEO of the Information Collective. I help tech executives to build and implement products and services that will have a social impact. And I do that to make sure that we are creating a fairer society in which we're taking into consideration data ethics and also allowing my clients to be more commercial in their application of their business too. So that's what I do, and that's what I help my team to run and support my clients on. But more than that, I am a Caribbean woman. I provide coaching to young lawyers and also to some of these tech executives. I am currently based in Jamaica if you could hear any background noise or music, that will give you a little indication that I'm in Jamaica. But I am UK born, raised, educated. I've lived in Paris, I've lived in New York, I've lived in London, obviously, and now I'm living in Jamaica. In terms of my area of practice, I've always been in data privacy. I've been in data privacy for about 20 years, and I've always made it my business to know at least a little bit about a lot of places. I never really wanted to be contained by one geographic location, one jurisdiction. I've always wanted to be more global in my approach so that I can, have a more of a comparative view and help companies to manage their global presence as well. So that's who I am. Thank you for this opportunity.
That's great. I'm so excited that we're getting the opportunity to chat with you again. Since we last spoke, when you visited MentorCore, actually quite a while ago, we were one of our first guests, you have moved to Jamaica. Talk to me a little bit about what that transition has been like, having been born and raised in the UK, but with strong ties back to Jamaica, and kind of shifting your world location as an adult after having so much exposure earlier on in your life.
But honestly, I thought it would be a lot easier than it is. I think I underestimated the challenge actually, because I'm raised in a Jamaican community. I'm raised in a Jamaican family. I have spent the last good number of years being back and forth between here, the US and the UK. And actually, I wanted to reduce my carbon footprint. So I didn't want to be taking flights all the time. I didn't want to be recovering from these long haul flights all the time. But also, I wanted sunshine. I wanted fresh air, good food, and just a nice locale to be sitting in. During the pandemic, I spent all my time in the UK. And actually, what I've realized in that time, having now come back to Jamaica, the price increase on a number of business related activities is substantial. So relocating, I'm still in transition, but one of the biggest difficulties has been finding office space, and also finding office space that allows me to still connect with my network and not bury my head into just into my work, sitting in my own office cubicle. So I think that has been the biggest challenge. That being said, I have been building a network through LinkedIn, the power of LinkedIn, in the Caribbean for a number of years now. I would say 4 to 5 years, where I've really made a focus of getting to know fellow attorneys, compliance people, tech people, people who operate in the same space as me, people who have the same passion as me, and getting to know people through LinkedIn, and then coming over and meeting with people. So I've managed to build relationships and build a network. And the one thing I would say is the biggest difference between here and being in the UK or the US is that people still need to see you, feel you, touch you in order to really want to engage with you. And that is really important. That relationship building piece is slow, a very slow and long journey. People have asked me, fellow data privacy specialists have asked me, how can they come into the Jamaican market? And one thing I explain is that, hey, I'm not overly in the Jamaican market. I operate in the UK, the US, Canada, and across the Caribbean. So I'm not focused just on being in Jamaica. Secondly, you have to get to know the right people. It is a country with a 3 million, just under 3 million people population. You need to network and know the right people, and you need to be validated almost by those people. And that is a real challenge for those of us who did not go to the schools here, those of us who did not go to university here and have not gone on to work at the institutions here, right? So you need that validation. So I tell people, and I would firstly recommend anyone, if you want to make a move. In this digitized society, you can work from anywhere, you truly can, internet permitted. But don't just have a very, so to speak, first world view of things, that you can go anywhere else in the world and actually you're going to shine and take over. That's not necessarily the case, because the doors will close on you very, very quickly. Take time to integrate, take time to absorb, take time to observe and understand what the landscape looks like, and actually if there is a need for you or how you can contribute to the society.
So that's a really interesting point, is you're spending a lot of time in that answer, focusing on how you integrate to the society. But we also know that, you've long operated a global business in multiple regions, but many people right now are, have decided to move physically to a new place, either pandemic driven or something else, just another change to make, and are having to figure out how to rationalize in their own head their behaviors for different markets. Do you have any insights that you can share with people on operating perhaps even 4 different versions of yourself, depending upon the different markets you're serving?
Well, I like to believe there's just one version of me, Dan.
Yeah.
Authenticity is my thing, right? I like to show up as my full authentic self. It's part of one of my core values.
Let's call it 4 filters.
4 filters. Yeah, I mean, there are a few things that I'm very much aware of. For example, not just the Jamaican example, but Jamaica is a very conservative place. And I'm not your lawyer that colors between the lines, right? I've been known to, I wear my hair, however, I wear my lipstick, my big earrings, my nails, I realize, I see what people may perceive of me when they first see me, and it's like, it's not lawyer quite often. But I continue to be myself. And somebody said to me years ago, cream always rises to the top. If you have something of value to say, it will come through at some point. In terms of operating in the US, I have to be much more punchy. I have to, really be on it. And I know people become, they're quite enamored by the British accent, but I still have to be able to show up and say something of importance and maintain a certain cadence when I'm speaking to a US audience. In the UK, I often have to filter a little bit. You have to be more considered and a little bit more measured in the approach. Or when I'm dealing with French clients, for example, oftentimes they want to explore more of the for and the against before we move forward. So I'm very aware of cultural sensitivities. And I think a lot of that comes from me being raised within a country, but having a different culture to that country. So my home culture was very different. So going to school, although I come from an Anglophone speaking background, English speaking background, I still had to assimilate to some extent from a very young age entering the school system. I also studied French and German from the age of 8 straight through to university. So again, I've been very used to having to make myself understood in a different language by different people. So I would say, how do people do that? Again, it is to understand the lay of the land. Make sure that you're aware of what those sensitivities may be. Make sure you are very, very aware, but do not compromise on who you are, on yourself. Show up as you are, because you have been created uniquely as you are perfect as you are, and we all find our tribe. I firmly believe that we all find our tribe. We're able to cultivate and find those people who are like us. So I don't overly worry about the differences, but I am aware of how I may need to overcome some of those perceptions, those initial perceptions of me.
I love this. I love the conversation that we're having around this because, well, it's very clear that different countries have different backgrounds and cultures, but even within a single country or even within a single city, there are going to be so many different cultural contexts that you need to understand and take into account as you do your work. So I think this is really important for from a mentoring perspective for people to understand. Now, one of the things that I also wanted to talk about, Sam, is you have been coaching for quite some time. And one of the things that I know that we've talked about in the past is well-being. How do you find it? How do you maintain it? How do you manage through it? Like, how do you do all the things you do and then stay aware and in tune with everything that you need outside of just the technical?
I think that has been one of my biggest challenges recently, because when life is running on its usual kill or normal kill, it's easy. But when life gets that bit difficult, or there is that event that takes place, for example, my grandmother passed away late last year. That was a huge event for my family. It meant that my focus was shifted. Now, when you're running a business or you've got a very demanding role in any way, what happens as a result of that is that you're trying to keep all of that going. And to be honest, it's not always possible. So I have learned some lessons around resilience in over the last couple of years, certainly through the pandemic, but very recently. So when I think about it, really, really making sure that I have a system in place. Reason I say that is that not every day do I feel motivated. And I used to allow my motivation to drive me all the time. That used to power me through, get up, keep going. But there are days when I'm not going to feel motivated. And if you have such a huge event such as grief, you're not going to feel motivated about that piece of data privacy work. It's the honest truth. But having a system, I had to really build a system and cling to a system to help me to keep moving through, knowing that if I just jump on the track, so to speak, my system will carry me through. What does my system look like? For example, I have my gym time booked in, so I gym every single morning. I have my different types of activities booked into my calendar throughout the day. So I don't end up just doing the same activity, pouring myself into the same task all day long. So I'm able to spread myself across the various streams of work that I have. But also, I have check-in points with myself. And I've got a checklist of things that I need to do every single day. So I love Mel Robbins, and she has something called the high five habit. And every morning I get up and I tell myself, high five, you've made it today. I tell myself that I'm safe, I am loved, I'm okay, I'm enough, and I'm doing this, right? I check in with myself all the time. I make sure I check in with my community, my network, and I've learned over time through people like Brene Brown, if things are not working well for me, open up, be vulnerable, say it, right? And that really has helped me to navigate some of those more challenging times. Because even if you think about this transition I've made, moving to Jamaica, there are so many things that could draw my attention in different directions every single day, right? Just to go and buy some vitamins took me an hour and a half on Monday. Now, without my system, that's because I wanted to check the prices in different places, etc. And I need to drive everywhere. It's not as simple as going onto the high street and just getting it done. Amazon Prime doesn't get things to me by tomorrow, right? So things are different. So I really had to build a system and cling to that system just to carry me through. And I think that is something that is hugely important. And it may be natural to other people, but it's not something that's natural to me. When you think about even my Myers-Briggs type, focuses on energy and, I tend to use a lot of external energy to motivate me. And also I tend to draw towards using the energy of the last minute to get me through my deadlines. But there are times when that is just not going to be enough, right? It's hard, and it's on the back of 2 hard years stuck in our houses. So I've spoken to a lot of people recently who have been struggling because they have people who I'm coaching. I'm seeing it increasingly. They are really questioning themselves. They're questioning their lifestyle. They're questioning their roles in their jobs. They don't know where to turn. They want more money. They want to live somewhere else. They want to have their own business, but they don't want to do this. And they are not confused, but they're questioning right now. And so I say to people, I try to help them to answer find their highest intention. Answer, why do you want to do this? Firstly, find your why. Secondly, jump, create a system and jump onto that system and allow yourself to go through. It's not an easy process, but at some point we'll get through to the other end.
For those that don't automatically give themselves the accountability that they need for a system like that, you create the system, and the act of creating the system is part of the energy at the start. But then when you get into the run state, and I say this as somebody who is very much a change person, but the run is far less interesting to me. How have you been able to, and it sounds like you have similar, how have you been able to keep yourself on that system? Other than, if I don't, I won't have the vitamins I need, what are you using, and how can people learn to hold themselves accountable to these systems?
You know, I'm being realistic about time and self and what I can achieve. That's the first thing. So in the past, we have built these systems. I even found one that I built when I was 25, right? But the very first thing is that when I look back at some of those, get up at 7, do this by 7:15, do this by this time, I look at it and think, oh, that was never going to work, because who you are and how you energize is completely unaligned with what you're trying to create. So the first thing, be honest with yourself about who you are and how you are, when are you at your best? Secondly, tell people you created a system. Tell them this is what your goal is. And you'll be surprised how many people around you show up and ask you about it. And I digress slightly, but I've joined a gym here in Jamaica. I get 4 personal training sessions every single week. I have to turn up at 7. I train from 7 till 8 with a personal trainer. I'm assessed on the first day back every month. They check my weight, my measurements, my body fat. And when you're not performing well, they ask you, so what's happened? So having these accountability partners, these motivators, I've actually learned quite a lot from the system they've created, right? Because the whole gym is there being assessed at the same time. And it doesn't feel nice when I didn't hit my goal. It didn't feel nice. I was so annoyed with myself. Even, thinking that I skipped the rum and raisin ice cream and I still didn't meet my goal, but I didn't go hard enough, and I knew it in myself. And I was so disappointed in myself because I had all of these trainers looking and saying, okay, so what do we need to do this time around? What are you eating? What are you this? What is that? So making sure that you have these check-in points. To coin a phrase that I've been using recently, what gets monitored, what gets measured gets managed, right? What gets monitored gets managed, right? And so just making sure that you've got people around you who you can check in with and who are aware of your goals is so, so important. And speaking of people around me, I am part of a group of women here who follow Rachel Rogers, who's an entrepreneur, and she's created the Millionaire Mindset Club. And so we get together, we've set out our goals, and we hold each other accountable to our goals to make sure that we're not making what we call broke-ass decisions, right? That we're making the decisions that are best for ourselves, our millionaire mindset. And it's not about making $1 million or pounds or whatever it is, which it is at the end, but it's about being your best self. And I think that's what's important. So understanding, what does your best self look like, and really you don't just hold yourself accountable, because I've signed up for yoga in the morning and put on my clothes and then sat there watching the TV, watch it as the people are doing the yoga, saying, that's a really great position. As I do so in my Sweaty Betty or my Lululemon clothes, So it's about telling others or knowing what works for you, I would say, but definitely telling others, having mentors, having accountability partners, being open, sharing with others. And even you'll be surprised, Instagram, Facebook, etc. That also helps. Telling people that you're doing this, they'll ask you to, they'll expect it to. So that's what I would say.
That's great. And thanks for that. And just you mentioned through the course of this, through the course of our chat, a whole bunch of great resources. And for anyone listening or watching, check in the show notes. The podcast show notes are looking below in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. And we have links to all of those, to all those references, so you can get back to them easily. But Samantha, unfortunately, we're getting to the end of our time, which of course means we are going to ask you yet again a question we asked you last time, around the most valuable thing you've learned from a mentor. But since you're a return visitor, maybe something that you've learned, the most important thing you've learned from a mentor since we've last spoken, which was about 2 years ago, or take it wherever you'd like.
Actually, the point that I made earlier about what gets measured gets managed is one of the biggest eye-openers for me, because it's very easy in so many different ways to just keep on trundling on through life and not really check in with yourself, check in with what your goal is, check in with anything. And I think once I sit and look, and which I do on a Friday now, look at all of my stats, I look at my financials, I look at my health stats, even my respiratory rate, all my stats. I look at my relationships, just making sure that I'm really checking in with myself, my people, my finances and my to-do list. So making sure that, and my goals, I should say. So measuring what I've got to do, making sure that I know where I am in that journey has proved huge for me, really huge. But I want to leave you with one more.
Please.
That is, jump and the net will appear. And I think we're living in a time where we really do need to focus on just moving from the heart and taking that risk. I say it because so many people are asking me right now, how do you do this? How's your move? How is it going? And I just want to tell anyone, if you want to make a move or make any change in life, jump. Trust yourself. You'll create the system. You'll be okay. You'll work it out.
Wonderful advice. Thank you, Samantha. Thank you for being here so much. Samantha Simms, CEO of the Information Collective, and very much a friend of our of Mentor Core. We're really glad you were able to come back and share these new insights with us. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For everybody listening, thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of Mentor Core. We really appreciate it. If you have feedback, we'd love to hear from you. info@mentorcore.biz. You can find us on your favorite podcast application, and you can find us on YouTube. We'd love your feedback from those avenues as well. Please leave ratings. Please tell us what you think. If you have ideas for future topics, please send those along as well. Because we want this show to be about the community for security, risk, privacy, ethics, governance, and compliance professionals. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next Mentor Core.